Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of Crime Uncovered, which is my show where we talk about all things crime related. My name is Silke, Silke, and as most of you will know by now, but for those of you who don't know, let me give you a recap. I conduct polygraph testing, and that is how I got involved in the field of crime. I would say that I've been on the front line of the crime wave that is sweeping South Africa, all kinds of crimes, including farm attacks. And I've written a book called Gotcha, which, thank you very much. A lot of you are sending me emails and asking me about the book. The book is available on Amazon and also available directly from me and also available in all leading bookstores around South Africa. The book is about my polygraph test that I conducted. It's non-fiction, and every single case that I speak about in my book actually happened. However, let's get on to today's show. Today I'm going to be talking about trauma. I think most of us in South Africa are traumatized to some degree. We seem to be quite an angry nation, and even if I just look at the roads when we're driving, lots and lots of road rage. And this is because of us being hypervigilant all the time. We are all as susceptible to becoming victims of crime as the person sitting next to you right now. So let's start off by the mindset of the gunman. So obviously there's also knives used and other weapon screwdrivers to intimidate us into cooperating, but I'm just going to talk about guns today for the sake of simplicity. So the mindset of a gunman, know this. He is nervous when he first approaches you. He probably does not know what you are going to do, even though he might have information about you. He is hyper-vigilant. The only thing for you to do when you're confronted by a gunman is to cooperate. There's nothing else for you to do. And the only power that you have when that gunman approaches you, or gunmen, is the only knowledge you have. And the only power that you have is the knowledge that you are powerless. Let me repeat that. The only power you have when you're confronted by a gunman is the knowledge that you are powerless. So those of you who have experienced this horrific trauma, which is 100% trauma, I want to give you a standing ovation. You did something so right that you are still alive today, and that you are able to listen to the show. So once again, I applaud you. You did something very, very right. When that gunman enters your home, sometimes they will definitely be holding a gun, and sometimes they will hold their finger over their mouths and go in a shushing motion. This puts a neurotypical brain, which would probably be you and I. Neurotypical brain is a brain that is wired correctly. And in other words, you're not a sociopath or a psychopath. Neurotypical would also include, for the sake of this talk, those who are mentally ill. And that motion puts a neurotypical brain into something called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a very painful place for a neurotypical brain to be, because that gun is so violent, and yet the motion, that shushing motion, is so tender. It's what mothers use to put their children to sleep, or to shush them down, or to calm them down. And again, the only thing for you to is to cooperate in every way. Just assume that gunman has been in your home already, especially if you have a worker in your home. The stats would indicate that 70% of all home invasions are inside jobs. In my mind, it is much, much higher than that. Even if you don't have a worker working in your home, at some point you've had an electrician or you've had a plumber. So they would probably have a layout or some idea of your home. If this has not happened, it might be a worker from across the road. It might be a gardener or a maid who's been watching you, because they are sometimes intimidated into becoming involved in crime and giving information to the people who come into your homes. I'm going to refer to them as the hit squads also. For those of you who listen to my show on farm attacks, you will know what a hit squad is. Those are the people who come in and commit the crime, and in farm attacks we say they commit the atrocity. There's no other way to describe farm attacks. The people who organize everything and who give the information to the hit squad, they are called the contact people. So that hit squad will definitely have some information on you, if not a lot. And when I interviewed these hit squad people who have served their time in jail for the purposes of writing my book, a lot of them said we had already been inside the home. And when we asked the homeowner, where's your safe? And that homeowner denied that there was a safe inside his house or her house, that is when that criminal becomes violent. They will not accept any untruth from you whatsoever, even though they themselves are committing a crime, which would, if they are caught, land them in jail. So, as I was saying, the only thing to do is to cooperate in every way. This is not the time to try and convert them. I know most of us believe in God, and sometimes people will start saying, about God and God loves you. Not the time. You will only anger that gunman. As I said to you, he's hypervigilant. Know something else, that even though obviously many, many times in a home invasion, it's more than one person committing the crime. And most of them will have guns. Some of them are toy guns. Yes, indeed, they are toy guns. But at least one of those guns will be a real gun, and that gunman will be ready to shoot. Another thing, ladies, don't scream. Just don't scream. Be calm. Many times gunmen, especially if they're not professional yet, when they're still amateurish, they will shoot you because you will make them panic. The calmer you are, the calmer that they will be. I know I'm asking a lot of you, but just prepare yourself. I'm going to give you safety tips at the end of the show, that you are fully prepared, that your family is fully prepared, that you all remain calm, and that this gets over and done with as quickly as possible. About 1 in 3 people will at one point be on the wrong end of a gun. So let's talk about that trauma. So even if you have not been on the wrong end of a gun, or you haven't been mugged or hijacked, maybe a very close friend or maybe a family member has experienced this. The trauma that you go through is the same level of trauma that they have gone through, because our mind goes to very, very dark places. So let's say your daughter has experienced this. Your trauma will also be 100%, and you too will need trauma counseling, because we know that in such an incident, death is really a breath away. We could be stabbed in the wrong place, or we could be shot or raped. It is always a breath away in these situations. So when this starts to happen, so let's say now the victim is experiencing this incident, what will happen is that the reptilian brain, which is based at the top of the spine, that reptilian brain goes into action. And everything will either slow down or speed up, or both will seem to happen at the same time. Everything will slow down and speed up at the same time. This also happens in a car accident, by the way. That's also 100% trauma. And in order for you to heal from that trauma, you need to bring that trauma from the reptilian brain into your memory banks in the normal part of your brain. I'm going to repeat that. In order for you to overcome this trauma and to process this trauma correctly, those memories from the reptilian brain need to be brought into the memory banks that lie in the normal part of the brain. And how does one do this? Research has shown that we need to discuss this incident that happened to us 1,000 times. Yep, 1,000 times. To somebody who is not judgmental, and to somebody who's not going to say to you, well, at least you're alive. That doesn't help you. When you are on the wrong end of a gun or a knife or a screwdriver, or when you are threatened with severe violence that can threaten your life or cause great bodily harm to you, you are 100% a victim in that time. And when people say, well, at least, you had your life and your jewelry was stolen, but that can always be replaced. I'm giving you permission right now to grieve everything materially that you lost in that robbery or that hijacking or any other incident, because we we input psychic energy into our material goods. It is the way Earth works. We gather material stuff that is sentimental to us, it's valuable to us, we're attached to it, we've worked for it. Even if it's just a TV, we go into Game or Macro, we look for the cheapest price, we invest ourselves in buying that TV, we think where we're going to put it, we have to phone the guy to come and put the TV in. So there's a lot of energy that's been expended into our material goods. You have the right to mourn those goods. You have the right to say, I almost died, because it is indeed a breath away. For every victim listening to me now, I'm validating you right now. Yes, when that gun was pointing at you, you dying was a breath away. Yes, when those men were in your home, you being raped was a breath away. Yes, when you were faced by those gunmen, your children or your husband being severely harmed, it was all a breath away. You are correct, and your fears are valid. They are well placed, because there are many home robberies where everything goes terribly awry. So once again, remain calm, but I'm validating you today. So when you talk to somebody so that the memories can leave your reptilian brain and go into the normal memory banks, that person must not judge you. And you can ask that person. People are well-meaning, and we're an empathic bunch. We feel each other's pain and sorrow. So if you tell somebody, just please listen, just validate what I'm telling you, that person will be able to do so for you. They are well-meaning when they say, well, you know, you've got your life. They are well-meaning, but it doesn't help a victim of horrific trauma. Another thing that I do not agree with at all, because I have attended so many of these home invasions, it does not help a victim to say, see it from the side of the perpetrator. It does not help that victim at that time at all, because they can't. They're a victim, and they have a right to their anger and their rage. The the perpetrator obviously has his story also. It doesn't come into play. When a gun is pointing at you, there's really no excuse. I know people are hungry and angry, but there is no excuse to go that far. So, after the event, you will find that you are hypervigilant. This is a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. The human brain, we are not wired for guns and knives. We are more wired to fight wild animals where we can go into fight or flight. When you are faced with a gun, you often cannot flee. Some people have managed to run away, and they've done so successfully. I don't advise it. So we can only go into freeze. So you've got fight, flight, or freeze. So we have to go into freeze in order to save our own lives. Freeze does not mean you stand still and do nothing. It means you cooperate. Another thing, when men are tied up and their wives are taken or their children are taken into the room to show these gunmen, the culprits, the safe, these men feel incredibly emasculated, and they don't understand that Earth is governed by natural law. When we are tied up, we are helpless. There's nothing for you to do. So a lot of men will afterwards beat themselves up and say, I should have done this, I should have done that. Some of the scenarios they've given me of what they should have done, could have done, would have done, Superman himself wouldn't be able to do that action. So whatever you did, I want to repeat myself, whatever you did at the time, you did the right thing. Guilt is a waste of an emotion, and many, many victims of trauma have that guilt because they feel they could have fought them and that they did not fight them. Your brain will be able to make many decisions within nanoseconds. Listen to what your brain is telling you, and just basically, I want to tell you, even though this sounds crazy, go with the flow. Please just cooperate. I cannot tell you this enough. Many times men who are armed will also draw their gun out. You can't. You're not John Wayne. Those men have already got their guns out. Those guns are cocked. They're ready to shoot you. And when you move to draw your gun, they will open fire in 99% of the cases. We are going to go to an advert break now. And please join me again after the ad. I will continue speaking about the subject.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za, an industry first in the world of internet radio. Not only are we an internet radio station, we're an internet radio platform for your brand. So why not expose your brand to potentially thousands of listeners and improve your customer relationships and brand equity with podcasts and live broadcasts? Be sure to check brandlive.co.za for more information. brandlive.co.za, harnessing the power of internet radio. Making a bold statement yet blending into the surrounding suburbs of Melville, 27 Boxes is a realization of edgy design and practical implementation. A radical departure from the shopping malls of our generation, yet not a return to the high streets of our youth. 27 Boxes showcases the best of a shopping centre set in a garden, surrounded by the bohemian suburb that is Melville. 27 Boxes, shop, play, eat. You're listening to brandlive.co.za.
And welcome back to Crime Uncovered. Today I am talking about trauma and the effect on the human brain and on the human being after an incident where they have been threatened with their lives with rape or grievous bodily harm. So after a trauma like this, you will be hypervigilant. Your eating habits might change, you might not be able to sleep, and all you will be able to think about is that incident. Your mind will play it over and over and over again. This is normal. What your mind is doing, it is healing. It is desensitizing itself to those images. So even for those of you who don't go for trauma counseling, eventually there will come a day when you don't think about it constantly anymore. However, trauma counseling is a must, and I will tell you exactly why. If you do not go for trauma counseling, your brain never fully processes this and it will stay stuck in the reptilian brain. When you are faced with a new trauma, your mind will immediately go back to the old trauma. A few years ago, did a case where there was an armed robbery, and I knew who it was without even polygraphing, because the lady who had organized it, she had got a boyfriend to do it, and his cronies had all come into this place, into this business, and they'd even made pregnant women lie on the floor. All those people went back to a previous trauma. I remember the one guy saying to me, all I can think about today is the day that I was stabbed when I was hijacked in Durban. The lady that was involved, she merrily got onto a train and went home after that all by herself. That is not possible, because after a trauma like this, you want human companionship. You need support. Trauma counseling, I cannot specify and tell you how important it is. So a lot of people also feel guilty afterwards, the victims, because they say, I'm so angry. All I want to do is have him killed, have them all killed. The one lady said to me, I want to make him kneel down, tell him what a piece of crap he is. He must tell me that his mother's a piece of crap also. And then I want to shoot him through both hands and both feet that he looks like Jesus Christ. This is what she told me. And then she asked me if she was evil. I told her, no, you are very far from evil. All these fantasies are normal. You have a right to your anger. You know, we so often shame victims. You've got to forgive to move on. And actually, most victims that I spoke to, and in my polygraph career, I also spoke to many victims of sexual abuse. People will confide in a polygraphist, and they do so safely because we do not speak. We are very discreet. We are trained for this. And they say, often they've said to me, I can't forgive. That adds to the shame. People have a right to their anger, and sometimes it's easier to accept the anger than to forgive. And some victims move in and out of forgiveness. We have something in South Africa called restorative justice. This is an amazing module that they've brought in, where the victims meet their perpetrators and the perpetrators are able to apologize. That heals that victim, because we human beings can deal with three things when we have been wronged. It is a proper, sincere apology, to have our feelings validated from the heart and the truth. So when that perpetrator says, I went in because I had this information, or I went in because I was hungry, as long as it's the truth. We South Africans are not stupid. We know when people are lying to us. That restorative justice is a wonderful, wonderful concept. But of course, people have to be arrested in order for that to even take place. I want to talk to you about safety tips. Ladies, please. Do not get into the car with strangers. Just don't. I don't care if he says to you, I know your brother and your brother's name is Craig. I don't care. You're not getting into his vehicle if you even know him only sort of. You are not getting into his vehicle. If he's driving alongside you, cross the road that you are walking facing the oncoming traffic and ask somebody for help if you are being pestered. Do not get into the car with strangers. Please. And ladies also, if you have a flat tire, you call your insurance company and you allow them to come out and assist you. If you leave your bags on your seats or any valuables on your seats, you're not seeing my emotion right now. I'm going to tell you, talk to the hand. Everything must go into your boot. Your cell phone can be alongside you, hidden out of the way. Clearly, do not text while you are driving. Do not talk on your phone while you're driving unless you're on your Bluetooth and your phone is out of sight. Another thing, it is very good to get the anti-smash and grab film on your windows. I always have that anti-smash and grab. It is an expense that I pay willingly, and I do feel that it has really saved me many times. Even though I, of course, put everything in my boot. I do as I preach sometimes. Another thing, ladies, don't wear expensive jewelry. Or men, you can be followed home. There's been a case that I dealt with where there was an armed robbery, and that was traced back to a very well-known restaurant in Hyde Park. The waiter himself broke into the house with his friends. I took the victim to that restaurant and she pointed him out. And then, of course, we called the police, who did nothing because there wasn't enough evidence. 50% of all hijackings happen in a driveway. Do not pull into your driveway. You've heard this said before. I'm telling you again. Do not pull into your driveway. When you get home, firstly, you should be not hypervigilant, but you should be watching to see what's going on around you as you're driving home. Once you get near your home, you must definitely be a little bit hypervigilant. Just check that you're not being followed. When you get to your driveway, park sideways. Open your gate. Zoom in. Do not tarry. Do not waste time. Just zoom in. Hit your remote that your gate closes immediately. This will definitely minimize your risk. Also, please don't buy cars that are high on the hijackers list. We're going to talk about VW Polos here. We're talking about Toyota Fortuners. Those are the most hijacked vehicles in South Africa. Sorry, VW and Toyota, but I'm talking the truth here. I'm speaking the truth. Another very good thing for your family to have is a password. Let me tell you that my domestic worker and I, we have a password. I call her by her name, which I'm not going to say. But if I've said to her, if I add an LA on the end of her name, that is a password. So let's say I'm held up in my home, because even though I deal in crime, it can also happen to me. And they make me go to her door. And I knock on her door. And if I put an LA at the end of her name, she knows, hit that panic button and then come out. Because if she doesn't come out, she's endangering me and her as well. At least we will know that our armed response is on the way. And I do not allow her to call me madam. She must call me by my first name. If she ever comes to my door and calls me madam, that is my password. I know, panic button immediately. Dogs must sleep inside. They are vulnerable to being poisoned. They are vulnerable to having doom sprayed in their faces and rendered useless to you. Dogs must sleep inside. They are the best thing. When I interviewed the home invaders, they said to me, palisade fencing, strangely enough, and dogs inside are the biggest deterrents in South Africa. And do not be lured outside easily either. If somebody bangs on your door, or even if your maid bangs on your door and you do not have that password, don't go out. Just don't go out. Rather press your panic button. For those of us who don't have the luxury of an armed response, call your neighbor. You must have your neighbor's cell numbers on your phone. You must have a plan in place if something goes awry, that you've got help quickly and immediately. So if you phone one neighbor, he will phone all the neighbors and they all come to your gate. Those robbers will be jeopardized, and please God, they run. As I've already discussed, don't pull out your gun if you are being hijacked or if you are in the middle of a home invasion. If you have a gun hidden away, you must wait for those people to become less hypervigilant and to be relaxed into their crime, that you can catch them off guard. Another thing, a safe in the house. Farm attacks and house robberies, the main aim is guns, money and jewelry. If you have a locked safe in your house, you're putting a target on your back, a very nice target on your back. Again, even if you don't have workers, at one point you will have workers in your home and they will know about that safe. If you have a safe, unlock it and leave nothing of value there. If you have expensive jewelry, I'm going to tell you, put it into a bank vault. Even though we will all remember their bank vault that was broken into about 2 years ago this occurred, where 2 bank vaults were broken into and everything was stolen. And as I said, the main aim is guns, money, and jewellery. That brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, and may God bless each and every one of you. Please don't forget to tune in on the first Monday of next month.
You're listening to brandlive.co.za.